think what we changed in this edition is that we changed the perspective. We thought about what the clients of our clients might like in Orgatec and how do they go to shows, what do they need to take away from a show. Because there's so many shows where you just enter and there's stands and they're all about individual products. But many of our target groups that we're looking out for, they want inspiration. And inspiration comes from atmosphere, from rooms. And usually in a room there's so many different products, so many manufacturers that have to work together to create an atmosphere that is inspiring. So it's not about, we all know companies can do very nice products and they can create beautiful rooms, but it's not the reality. If we look in our own living rooms, we have beautiful products, but there are 20 different companies procuring it. The lighting has to work with the flooring, the seats has to be comfortable, but you want it in your own style. And so you're your own designer in your own home. And this is what we see in so many institutions and offices, hotels, lounges as well. It's always an entire new world of the designer. So that's what we're recreating here. We said we need a focus point for our visitor target groups. Yeah, so we have, if we're looking at who's deciding on what is the office of tomorrow or what is the hotel space, if we stick with offices, because that's the backbone still and the DNA of Orgatec, it starts with HR people. It's not only the room, it is how do we work together, what are the hierarchies, then you have the creative people, but you also have facility managers, you have all the technology that comes into it. So we decided if we have 140,000 square meters, it's a massive show. But if you're a designer, you don't need to see 140,000 square meters, you need the top design items. If you're a facility manager, you probably don't care about the design, you care about the sustainability, you have another perspective. So the focus areas that we create and that you see in the center of the halls is the first address to turn to. So you know exactly if you're coming for a design aspect, you probably go into hall 5.2 or into hall 10.2 where you see design brands. And then from there you go to the other places. I think, and I'm very relieved if I say that at the third day of this show, that it worked. And many of our customers have already told us tremendous turnout. The halls are full, and you can see it in the new corridor as well, because we have all new halls, and there's always the backbone of this corridor. It's always full of people, and I think you can always touch it that people are so glad that it works out and that there is some direction and a good show. So it is an entirely different show, switched from what companies want from customers, sales, to what customers want from companies, inspiration. So I think this is a very inspirational show, and I think that's the main difference between the 2024 edition compared to 2022. This is an inspirational show. It's a lot about emotion, and it worked out, and we're very, very glad that this turned out this way. It is literally, there's a Caesar. Ever since we had the pandemic, things have shifted entirely. I mean, the working space or working as such has been pushed into the center of society. Yeah, before it was, in many respects, especially in Germany, it was 9 to 5. You had to be in the office. No one would say you can work from home. All of a sudden, you had to work from home, and it stays with people. So now offices need to be more than just a place where you do your job. It has to be something where people want to go to. Yeah, it is a choice now for people. Do I go into the office or don't I? Because if I'm an employer and I tell you, well, you have to come in every day from 8 till 6 o'clock, you might think, well, I can go somewhere else and I can work from wherever I need need to or want to, as long as I provide the service. So offices become more of a place where you want to be. It's a place where you want to invite people to. And it depends, offices depend on what sort of job you're working in. If you're in sales and you want to work from home, you're not going to invite your client to your own living room. Yeah? So you need a space where you can represent the company, where you can actually show your products to the best respect. So that would be something where you need to go into the office for. Another big aspect here is that technology, especially when we think about hybrid working spaces, is of paramount importance to new office spaces. Technology makes it easy to actually combine a meeting like we're having here, but we could now, by the blink of an eye, bring in someone from Italy, from Spain, from the US to join us in this meeting just by the use of our iPhone. And so this is hybrid is not only am I in an airport, in a train, or in an office, or at home. It's also having access to all the information that you need. And an office can be without furniture. The furniture always supports the things you do. So it is an office. It's also an inspirational space that you create your own working environment to your best ability and to the job that you're doing. I think the offices will change in many ways, and I think there is not the right office in the future, because we're all individuals, we all have different sort of working styles. And my working style and my ideal office might vary a lot from your point of view. If you're in an inspirational job, you need another circumstance than I would probably need. But if you're always mobile and you probably don't depend on a focal point so much. But if we think of collaboration, for instance, people coming together and working on the same project, there is a high demand for working together, for meeting up, and for joint collaboration. And a place where people collaborate looks very different from a place where I'm retreat to work and to think of something, even if it's both an inspirational job that we do. When we look at the show here, there's a lot of conferences where we're talking of working culture, and this is where it all starts. If we think, let's say, 50 years back, and we would open up a new headquarter, for instance, the question of the architect would probably be, well, how much stuff have you got? And you say 6,000, and they would say, okay, I have this building, there's 6,000 rooms, you put the furniture in, and that's it. And today, the discussion would probably start at, okay, what's the culture of the company? How do you want to be perceived in the society? How do you want to see by your clients? And then look at an Apple office, for instance. They're not talking about how many rooms have they got. They talk about an image of the brand. The headquarter has to be the brand ambassador. It is not just one anonymous building that has enough room for the people you work in. It's literally a part of your marketing strategy of how you are perceived and how you actually attract the right people. So there is a huge difference and a huge importance of working culture. And as an employer, if I want to win over experts and the right personnel to join me, there needs to be more than just a good paid job. People, like in this Instagram society at the minute, they want to say, if I have to go to work, I want to be working in a cool place. Yeah, that's why people they go to places where it is nice and they show, here I am. I managed to be somewhere good and I'll get paid for it. Yeah, so nobody in the 60s, in the 1960s, would take a picture of himself sitting at the desk saying, well, wow, I've got a job. But now people do it. Now people do it, and it becomes fashionable to be portrayed in a situation, in a work situation. Who would have thought that 50 years ago? So culture is the key to a desirable working space. Absolutely, and it's not only in the future really. If we look back even 6-7 years, Orgatec as such was not only about office furniture. We already had the tendency that the working and living merging into each other. You know, now we're on holiday, or you still have your iPhone, you're reading a message, and you probably respond to the message, or even if you're thinking, I have 15 minutes, I might as well do it now, so I don't have to get up early tomorrow and do it. So it all merges, and it's the same with offices, and the same with hospitality project. What's the difference between being in a co-working space or in a hotel lobby? It is some differences about norms and tendencies of what's the quality of the furniture and can you sit upright. But hospitality is a huge, and always was a huge part of Orgatec already. In 2016, or 16 and 18, when we think of ARPA, of Fritz Hansen, of Walter Knoll, who's back at Orgatec. The furniture manufacturers, they don't distinguish clearly any longer between am I an office furniture manufacturer or am I supplying to huge hospitality and hotel chains. When if we look around here, we've got just about in Hall 8, we can see them from here, Brunner for instance, they do offices, they do beautiful hotels. We've got Pedrali, or we've got Actiu in Hall 9 or in Hall 6. If you ask them, are you an office furniture manufacturer? They'll probably kick you out of the office, you know, because there is no distinction in the hall of Orgatec anymore between contract or office, because the people that are coming to Orgatec, they're here for inspiration. And it's like window shopping, you know. You walk to town and you turn a corner and you see something new, and it's not like, oh, this hall has all lighting and this is all flooring. No, you turn a corner and you think, oh, that's an interesting product. I've never seen something like that before, and then that initiates conversation. So to come back to the question, is there a melt between, and will there be more hospitality in Orgatec? I think hospitality becomes more important because now, as a working person, you've got more choices. I can as well, for 2 hours, comfortably sit here with my laptop and do my job without my partner, like, being in Italy, France, or Spain, or the US, noticing that I'm not sitting at a desk upright, as long as the quality is not. If I feel comfy like this, I probably work for 8 hours, and other people would probably think, no, I can do it lying down. So there will be more hospitality aspects at Orgatec. But not only hospitality, because if you look at the companies that come here on the visitor side of things, it's hospitality areas like hotels or lounges of airports. It's universities, for instance, libraries. Even the health sector is heavily involved in Orgatec. So there's so much more to be contacted by our exhibitors than just the very important office part at Orgatec. Sure. I think as Europe tends to be, and probably still is, probably one of the strongest market for workplace design, and probably has influenced a lot the way working spaces have been seen or looked at throughout the world. I think in the past years, and as markets are always a little bit different, it became less important. It gained, I think, importance through something that unified all of us, because the pandemic was a global pandemic. And if we look at Asia, for instance, if we look at Japan, yeah, we've got it couldn't have been more different in Europe and in Japan when it comes to working styles. So we had already probably more of a liberal working style prior to the pandemic, whereas in Japan it was very hierarchic. Very centered. You had to commute in from, let's say, 2 hours outside Tokyo, get into the office. People would probably be very cramped in an office. Only small working spaces, actually. And now, after the pandemic, where everyone had to literally stay away from each other, in confined spaces like in offices in Asia, how do you maintain a distance of 1.5 meters to your collaborator? You've probably been with 2 people in that space. So what has changed? People are not all commuting in anymore. All of a sudden, and we know it through our Orgatec Tokyo that we do for 3 years now, all of a sudden the working style is, no, I don't have to stay in the office until 10 o'clock and I can't leave before my boss leaves. All of a sudden people look a bit more after themselves. They also don't commute in every day, and all of a sudden where they used to get on the train to go into Tokyo, all of a sudden they have working pods there. The well-being of the workforce is more important, talking about culture as well. How do you value the people that are working for you? So I think through the pandemic, what we already had in Europe, or were lucky to have developed, is important to a lot of other countries now. Workforce is not just a commodity anymore, but it's a valuable thing. We all know that well-educated people tend to decide where they want to go to, and they go to where they are treated right, where they have a nice surrounding to work in, and where they have a surrounding where they can do their job right. Because most of us are lucky to actually do something as profession what you really love, and that's a valuable thing. If you don't feel loved in the job, or if you don't feel any connection to what you do, if you can afford it, you do something else. Nobody. So I think the future for European workplace design, and I'd like to say for European design, is even it's very bright, because of many nations still value Spanish design, Italian design, French design. There is a high demand for the quality and for the tradition that the European design, in many respects, not just the workplace, brings to the world. If you look to the places where there's, if we look at Middle East or Asia or the US, as soon as you're talking quality, very often it's European-based brands that are sought after. And if it comes to price, it is not necessarily always the German or the European brands that are chosen. So this speaks for let's say for the quality and for the position that European design, be it in workspace or in many other aspects, has gained throughout the world. So I think we're in a very good position, and we want to show it to the world. And as far as I know from the last figures that I've seen, more than 140 countries have sent visitors to Cologne to look at Orgatec again. And this is after we know in 2002 it was 2022, it was more difficult for people to have the confidence of traveling, and so people travel again. They like to look at nice things. It is a tough situation now, but it's gradually getting better.